Many founders are introverts when you start off, but the problem is when you have a growing company, you have to transform into a leader, because otherwise, if you can't reinvent yourself, you're sentenced to forever doing small startups. And if you want to have a profound effect on the world, you have to have a bigger company.
Do you want to know the secret to success? Welcome to rulesforsuccess.com, a platform that unites the accomplished and the ambitious. We're here to arm you with the invaluable knowledge of individuals who have paved their own path to success. And now let's get into the show with dynamic host Joseph Varghese.
Hi everyone, Joseph Varghese here, rulesforsuccess.com. I am excited. I've got a buddy of mine, local to New York City, also based in London as well, Anthony Rose. Anthony and I have connected over the past few months through a community called Tech Week and around that community and some of the events that he sponsored here in New York. Extraordinary gentleman, quite extraordinary. He's a founder and CEO of SeedLegals, legal tech platform powering US and UK startups. He's also the man behind the BBC iPlayer. We'll get into that soon. Anthony has a knack of showing up early into the future. He's born in Cape Town, based in London, and then he's built a career out spotting what is next in tech and making it happen before the rest of us even see it coming. Today he's the CEO of SeedLegals, a legal automation platform shaking up the way startups raise money and manage their paperwork. In just a few years, SeedLegals has become the go-to tool for founders in the UK, powering an estimated 20%. The number might be even greater now, since that bio info came out. He has a team of 160 people, primarily in the UK, on staff working at SeedLegals. What he's done is quite inspiring. And across these startup communities that I'm part of, he is the go-to guy for legal expert in terms of the platform he's built. I'm excited to have him on our podcast, rulesforsuccess.com. You can access this full interview there. The summary, the AI summary, the mind map. We have an amazing mind map we put together, my team's put together with some of the questions we're asking Anthony, and much more. So rulesforsuccess.com to access all of that. Anthony Rose, how are you today?
I am very well and delighted to be on the show, so thank you so much.
My pleasure. It's great to have you here. And I know you are in New York now. SeedLegals has become kind of a well-known phenomenon in the UK. Now you've also launched in the US. But before we get into SeedLegals, I want to just talk about your evolution. What got you into being an entrepreneur? I lead multiple communities of entrepreneurs, some startups, some people who have offices, family offices, physicians, backgrounds, and we're very passionate about the idea of being a business owner, stepping into that, the nature of mindset. Not many of us were born into that. Some of us were, but not all of us were. What got you to be an entrepreneur on that journey?
That's a great question, because I've got a fun career that I'll zip through. That all started when I was still at school and I was designing electronics. And this was in the days before startups. I mean, you never thought of, I'll just raise VC money or angel investor. It was in Cape Town, South Africa. The only way to have a business is to borrow money from the bank, buy some, parts, make something, sell it, make more money at the end of the month than you got at the beginning, so eventually you can pay off the amount or bootstrap yourself. And so one day there I went into my local Apple store to show them a cool hardware device for an Apple that I'd built. And they went, "That's awesome, we'll take 20. And I went, "I'm sorry, I was just doing this as a hobby. You want to buy them?" And that sent me, while I was still at school, on this path of, wait, I'm going to think about it commercially. And so I remember sitting on the kitchen floor with my mother and brother and sister assembling, packing these circuit boards into boxes. And then it grew from there. And the next time I had an idea, I thought, wait, before I build it, let me go ask the Apple Store folks if they want to buy them. And if they do, then I'll go make them. So that was my background, is electronics design. But then it morphed into real-time 3D graphics. I've done software development. And then the 3D graphics company, through a torturous thing, morphed into Kazaa, the music file sharing company. for those old enough to remember peer-to-peer file sharing.
I do remember that. So you were the founder of Kazaa?
I was not the founder of Kazaa. I joined Kazaa making a licensed music store. So in the days before iTunes, so that when you're searching for content on the peer-to-peer network, you could download licensed versions as well. And then we got sued by the music companies. I won, the other companies lost, we settled, and then built an actual music store. But it was very difficult to compete with the business model that the music labels came up with. And this was my first foray into disruption, because the music companies were selling, CDs at the time, and sales were declining by $1 billion a year from, 13, 12, 11, 10 billion a year, and they were blaming it on the internet. And repeatedly what you see is the incumbents, the current dominant players, when a new technology arrives, instead of embracing it for their future, they try to ignore it or sue it out of existence or pretend it doesn't exist and so on. And, it's taken like literally 20 years later for the music industry to be making more money through streaming and embracing streaming, because of course no one buys CDs anymore. And I was really surprised, because I thought as soon as you see a new trend, you should just jump on it, because the cost of entering it is just higher and higher the longer you leave it. And of course, we see that with AI now. But anyway, I was then living in Australia, and the BBC hired me to head up BBC iPlayer, which is the UK version of Hulu or Netflix. And I thought, the BBC, where are the stock options? It's a state-funded, like a PSB, and so on. And so I just thought, okay, I'll move to the UK, headed up iPlayer, launched it, productized it. It's been a huge success. And then after a couple of years...
What year was that? What year was that?
This was like from 2007 till 2011.
Yes. Got it.
And then I thought, it's time to get back to my startup roots. I built a startup, sold it, built another startup, sold it, invested in a few, got tired of paying lawyers, met my now co-founder Laurent at a fabulous party, and he's an ex-VC and serial investor. And he was saying, those lawyers, they charge a fortune, they make mistakes, they take forever. We should change it. And having been a product guy and built and sold companies and seen enough legals, I thought, yes, this sounds like a great thing to do. And then built SeedLegals. We're, as you said, 160 people, about 50,000 UK companies on SeedLegals. In fact, most UK startups are on SeedLegals. About a third of all early stage investment in the UK goes through SeedLegals.
Incredible.
Which is great, but of course means if we want to grow, we need to look elsewhere. And so time to hop on a plane and go to the US. And New York is closest, of course, time zone, flights and so on. And in London, SeedLegals is pretty well known. I'm pretty well known. In New York, zero people knew us.
So you're a bit of a celebrity in the startup circles in the UK, and here
in the UK,
and people are just getting noticed now of what you're doing.
And so one of the key themes for me is as a founder, building that sort of personal brand as well as your company brand. Because you have to do everything you can to stick out. Everything's such a noisy place. If you can be, enough followers on LinkedIn or Insta, or whatever your chosen platform is, that you can start having a reach. Well, you have to pay Google a lot less money because you're getting the reach yourself. And so, when I arrived in New York, like zero people knew me, zero people knew SeedLegals. And so my metric is, what's the shortest number of weeks to change that? And I must say, on a very modest budget, it's gone brilliantly well. I think a good fraction of founders in New York now know about us. And that converts into customers. And I'm always delighted, and people who know me are in founder groups periodically, always delighted to help with advice and so on. And by the way, just one more observation, which is, legal tech is essentially my third foray into disruption. So first it was with Kazaa and the internet replacing physical music sales and so on. And then with the BBC and my startup subsequently, it was about online video, on-demand video replacing broadcast TV. And now it's with technology, replacing lawyers. And that's not only in funding, which we cover at SeedLegals,
Yes.
but you'll see it increasingly, with creating wills or with insurance or any number of things where you've gone to a lawyer. Actually, between AI and tech, that's going to change. And then
It's going to change dramatically. Even one of my coaches is a lawyer and downsized his entire law firm, given what's happening with AI.
Right.
And it's quite extraordinary. I'm sure there's quite a bit of AI interwoven into what you're doing with SeedLegals, impacting startups as well.
Right. Actually, there's not that much AI, but we're working on a great set of initiatives. You're about to launch some AI features that let you upload all your company documents and query them. And the system will help get you prompts on how to improve your pitch deck. And of course, we use AI internally to review things when customers send it to us and to check for errors and to reconcile against the company registry. So there are endless numbers of things, of course, that you can do.
So SeedLegals now handles over 1,000 funding rounds per year.
Several thousand.
Several
funding
thousands.
rounds. Yeah, I mean, probably
Okay.
like 10,000 or something, investments or more per year. Absolutely.
Where do you see this evolving? I know we touched on AI a little bit, and you're integrating that into it. And where do you see this evolving?
Well, it's a great point. So, previously you'd go to a lawyer every time you wanted an investment agreement, and then you'd pay fortunes to a lawyer. And we've changed that. You get on the platform, the platform uses data, help, videos and so on to show you the deal terms you should select, what's market, what's not, and the platform builds the documents and everything's e-signed. And our team are here to help. So it's replacing paying lawyers with legal, automated generation of documents. But of course, what founders really want is, forget the legal documents, you need to find me investors. So can you help? Because a lawyer, their output is just a legal document.
Yes.
What people want is, how do I find investors? Make a better pitch deck. Be always on a Sunday night so I can do an investment anytime I want, and a range of other things. Show me data to show what's, market standard. And so that complete package of things to help founders is really what we are working on.
Incredible. Great. So also, with regard to team culture and intention building, I know you've touched on this in previous interviews, conversations. You stressed the importance of structuring a team before chaos hits. I've been part of several teams in the past, different startups I've been involved with, and in some cases, going back 7-8 years ago, it was disastrous because we didn't have the right documents in place. What specific habits, processes, rituals you recommend to make that partnership ironclad early on, even without the documents, or what do you recommend?
That is a great question. And by the way, on some things, I think I'm reasonably expert on this. I'm just a fellow journeyman like everyone else. But I think what's really important is many founders are introverts when you start off. You are INTJ or INTP, if you know your Myers-Briggs profile. You'd prefer nothing else than to sit in front of your computer, listening to some music and typing stuff, and you don't really want to talk to other human beings. And you're a builder. But the problem is, when you have a growing company, you have to transform into a leader. And the leader is going to, be somebody that the team look up to, your customers look up to, your investors want to bet on. And as a leader, you have to make all sorts of complicated decisions and choices when you've got a little data available. Should you expand into a new country, or COVID is hit? Should you tell everyone to work at home, or should they be back in the office now, and all sorts of things. And I think what's really important is, as a founder, you have to reinvent yourself on your journey. And personally, I find this fascinating. I don't claim, by the way, in any way that I'm the best example of this. I think I still micromanage too much, and I still love to do product myself, and I still do a bit of coding, and I certainly get out and evangelize a lot, which is probably what a founder and CEO should be doing. But I think when anyone watching or listening to this, when you look within and see what you really love doing, and if your company is currently 5 people and you love coding or doing product, that's perfect. If your company is 200 people, is it right that you're still doing this or not? And there are many different views on this. The classic, VC or management view is that you should step out of day-to-day activities. You should create a senior team, and you should spend your time doing, leadership things with the team and mentoring. And, it said maybe you aren't that operationally involved other than your senior leadership team. And then came Paul Graham with his founder mode, which went really wide, which said that's a terrible thing to do, because in fact it was the founder's magic and vision and drive and push that got people to love the product, got the team on board, got you to build it, and they were also in tune with what customers wanted. And if they now spend their time running meetings for their senior team, dude, the company's going to lose its way. So I don't know the answer. I know that for me, I'm kind of in that zone. I'm not sure everyone would like it that way, but I think that self-awareness is really important.
I agree.
And because otherwise, if you can't reinvent yourself, you're sentenced to forever doing small startups. And if you want to have a profound effect on the world, you have to have a bigger company.
Yes, it takes something to step into being a leader. And as a kind of the person who built this idea, created this idea, built that small team, it's vital that we learn how to see that ourselves, communicate what we're doing, engage a team, build a culture, or perhaps bring a co-founder who has some of those skills too. The whole idea
exactly.
of the
that's a great point.
Integrator, visionary, that whole model from EOS that they talk about. I agree, yeah.
And by the way, it's not only as the founder that needs to reinvent themselves, it's often your earlier team. And so I went to this many years ago at SeedLegals when we hit about 20 people. One of the earlier joiners, who was really brilliant, you could see it wasn't really working. And I was sort of unhappy because I loved working with them. They were great. But they just wanted to operate as if the company wasn't growing. They just wanted to be a one-person team, but it now needed a bigger team. Yes. And then I went to an event organized by Index Ventures, our investors at the time, and still our investors. And it was on the growth pains of a startup. And it was said that when you hit about 20 or 30 people, your original joiners start having disconnects. And unless they reinvent themselves, you're probably going to lose them. And you don't need to take it personally, because that's just the way it is. Yes. And so the issues are the company switches from mission to performance, or purpose to performance. So initially it's like, rah, rah, we're going to change the world. And then once you've built something, you're now focused on sales metrics. What's your customer acquisition cost? What's the lifetime value? What should you charge for it?
KPIs.
And some people think that you've kind of lost the plot. Dude, we were changing the world and democratizing, and now you focus on numbers. But you have to do that if you've got a growing business, and if you've got VC investment, they're expecting you to do that. The other thing is the earliest joiners would previously have the ear of the founders. You could wander into their office, so to speak, being like the desk over there. But now they're getting busier and they're talking to more people, and maybe they don't have that much time for you. So you start feeling disconnected. And so as a person who, maybe it's like a CTO, maybe they're brilliant at coding, but when you've got a dev team of 40 people, if your CTO is still coding, that's not good. Should they be now a system architect? Should they be mentoring the team? Should they be hiring? Should they be out at events on, Python leadership or something? Everyone has to reinvent themselves. And that's, I think, a key message for anyone early stage company, because you have to be prepared to go on that journey yourself.
Yes, you have to have those difficult conversations. You've got to re-engage, lead by culture, build culture. Yeah, I've seen that quite a bit over the years. And you hear stories, of course, And also realize you're not the only one in the world having those difficult conversations. It's probably pretty much every startup, as they grow, is going to have those conversations periodically. Incredible. Yeah, I concur. Now, I've seen you in New York. I've seen you go from event to event. And I've heard that you prefer running everywhere rather than biking. Is that true?
Yeah, I think I've got a reputation of the crazy English guy in New York who runs everywhere. So, as founders, we all want to chill out and so on. And for me, I just love running, and you don't have time in the day, but if you can go to meetings and run, that's great. In London, I run pretty much everywhere. In New York, I live near Wall Street, so it's like 25 minutes. Sorry, it's 15 minutes to, Canal, Soho. It's like 25 minutes to 23rd Street. So, it's actually not much longer than taking the subway, and I get my exercise. If it gets hot, you're probably only going to run back again, but yeah.
Did you carry like a stick of deodorant with you when you go?
I carry a different T-shirt and so on to change, awesome. Of course, yeah. But otherwise, if it's hot, I'm not going to run there. I'll run back and so on. But
I love that.
I just love it because we all want to have thinking time, and for me, that's when running is. And one thing, by the way, that's changed my life is a product called Whisper Flow. So it's voice to text. And it's found as we often do a lot of typing. I mean, I've typed, there's an endless number of emails. When you're done with the emails, there's LinkedIn, and then there's WhatsApp, and then there's Slack. You're forever typing. And you can type it like maybe, 30 or 40 words a minute, but you can talk, as you can hear now, way faster. So I've tried all these speech to text, Dragon and Microsoft and Apple. They're all rubbish. You spend longer fixing it. And then I came across Whisper Flow, and it's fantastic. I mean, it may hallucinate sometimes, but it's changed my life. And over the last 20 weeks, I've dictated, I think, 600,000 words, which equates to about 2 weeks of my life just typing. It's a lot more fun as well, because as you are, instead of typing, all the stuff in your head goes through your fingers. It's like having a conversation with this other person. They're just not answering back. So, hey, Bob, I'd set up the cap table this way. And my wife walks by periodically and hears me talking to the computer, and she goes, that's weird as fuck. But and it is slightly strange, but it's fantastic. It is. But now you can combine it. So often you do some nice thinking when you're going for a run. Yes. And so over the weekend, I had an idea. You stop, you dictate it, and then you paste that into ChatGPT, and then you have a proposal written like all voice and AI. It's like living in the future. It's amazing.
You're speaking my language, brother. Yeah. You really are. I do 16 races a year. I run quite a bit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I use an app called Letterly. It's very similar. I have clients who recommended Whisper Flow to me too. So I'm going to look into that further. And it's the same thing. Just capture. There's something about running where you got the endorphins running and the ideation, the critical thinking, and I find also it's the best time after a run to create content. A lot of my videos, you'll see me sweaty we have a mini podcast called Momentum Tips, momentumtips.com, 2-minute tips, and half the videos of me are after a run because it's the ideation, the inspiration has come, the endorphins are on my body, I'm happy, like it's the greatest high ever. And it's just delivering that nugget. It's fascinating. So I love that. It's really great what you're doing.
And by the way, if you use voice to text, do go and check what it's written before you hit send. Sometimes it gets wrong. Like, if you send me the deck, it's changed deck into a different word. Embarrassing had I not caught it, So.
1,000%. It's always good to review. I love playing with 11 Labs. So you have 11 Labs speak in your voice what's being said, so it's just I guess the internalized to it's a means to associate with what's said in a way where it aligns, right? It's a conversational, it's engaging, it sounds like me. And so that AI has been fantastic, right? The whole nature of where things are, progress happening. It's a really beautiful world we live in currently, and it's going to keep evolving. Exactly. You'll have a little robot running with you in the future, capturing you, like side by side, talking to you at the same time.
I have to say, one of the nice things with lots of customers on SeedLegals, they do everything. And one customer pinged me saying, I've made a virtual Anthony. So what they did is they took one of my videos, 9 minutes of voice, and created a voice clone. And then they took our SeedLegals articles, hundreds of articles, many of which I've written on fundraising and growing a team and more, and they ingested all of that. And then they created a Ask Anthony, but it's a voice system. Yes. So you add this bot to your webpage and you go and ask Anthony anything, and then it replies. It was seriously cool. It's not perfect, but then I posted on LinkedIn. We both made a bit of noise about it because it was quite a lot of fun. But then a strange thing happened. A few people started messaging me saying, Anthony, I've been asking your AI, Anthony, some questions, and I didn't really like the answer. So can I ask you? And then I had this strange feeling of guilt that the AI version of me wasn't as good as it should be, even though I didn't make it and it's not me. And maybe I just had this feeling, we've just got a glimpse of the future where you start feeling like remorse and guilt for the actions of your AI double. and as we add agentic AI soon, where it's going to spawn off and do things and make calls and answer the phone and write emails for them, and this is coming soon.
It is.
You're going to definitely see the what? No, that wasn't me. That was the AI shit. I shouldn't have said that. Bad AI. Don't do that again. So.
Yes. Especially, I think we're all perfectionists in some ways, and we're all evolving too in how we communicate. So it might even take an older version of ourselves based on what was created in an article and put that out. I have clients using Delphi and things of that sort to kind of clone themselves that same way. It is useful. I mean, in some ways, we only have 168 hours a week. We can't be able to be everywhere and converse with everyone. And being able to engage with people, it'll only get better. And I think the thing to do would be to actually go in there and create our own version, like optimize it and keep updating it, and like ChatGPT, kind of like clearing the memory, the things that are no longer in alignment. It takes work. It's evolving. It really is.
And I love it when you said it will get better, because that's spoken like an entrepreneur, right? There's always a technical optimism for the future. But of course, not everyone shares that. Exactly. And I think the attribute of a founder is nothing's a problem, everything's an opportunity. So some people are going, oh my God, AI, dystopian future. We're thinking, yes, I've just saved so many hours a week by voice dictation. I've got an AI clone. I'm going to connect with an agentic thing. And yeah, it's going to screw up a bit, but we'll fix it. We'll be better. Exactly. I can lie on the beach. And these 27 virtual Anthony agents will be doing stuff. I don't know if it will actually happen, because you'll just be spending time managing all the inbounds that they create. But it's a wonderful future to look forward to. And it's probably coming fairly fast.
It is coming very fast. It's already, in some ways, part of it's already here. Yeah, it's exciting. So you jokingly said bribing you with green jasmine tea. My daughter's name is Jasmine, by the way. What small human habit of yours surprises the people around you, your teammates and others?
Probably my late night emails and Slack messages. The day is whack-a-mole with endless numbers of team inbounds, customer inbounds, partner inbounds, WhatsApp groups. And so finally, like 8 p.m. or so, it settles down. And then I like to have dinner with my wife. And then usually about 10 p.m. or so, I'll put in some music, usually Wagner, German opera or Bach or something. And then that's my chill-out zone between 10 p.m. and maybe 2 a.m. And that's where I really love and working, and I'm most creative. But it also means, when the team get in the morning, there are endless numbers of Slack messages. But, now try to be good and sort of schedule them to be sent at 9 a.m., which sometimes works but doesn't work on threaded replies. But, people go, what time zone are you in? It's like, it's okay. I just like working late. So, but I really like that way of working.
Yes.
So I think
I think you know your flow. Like everyone has a different flow with how they work.
Exactly.
And,
when I see the folks that say get up at 7 a.m., it's like, dude, I've just gone to bed around then. That's not going to work. So.
Exactly. I used to have a workshop 20 years ago called Work Your Flow, and it's understanding your zone of genius, what works for you. Everyone's different, and it's just tapping into it. There's no right or wrong. There tends to be a movement toward getting up early, the 5 a.m. club. Yet that doesn't work for everyone, and just understanding what works for you.
Not like saying advice that I know anything better than anyone else, but avoid compromising on sleep. And for me, it's 7.25 hours. Less than that, you start getting a bit ratty. More than that, you're probably a bit too chilled out. That seems to be about right. And you always, tempted to sleep less, but if you do, you end up regretting it. Either you or your colleagues around you do. So figure out what your sweet spot is and try really, really hard to not compromise on that.
Amazing. If you could give advice to the 18-year-old version of yourself, of course, going back, you shared that from an early age, you were inventing, tinkering, and building things. If you can give advice to that adult version of yourself, becoming an adult, or even somebody now approaching adulthood, turning 18, what's a piece of advice you offer that person?
Well, I think there are two answers. The first one, going back that early, is do you want to be a founder yourself? And the second one is about validating before you take investor money and spend years of your life on it. So let's start with, do you want to be a founder? And there was a statistics that some 20 years ago, some 2% of people leaving high school would want to be founders. And the more recent survey showed 27%. But I don't think 27% of people are going to be good fit for founders. So founders need to love taking risks, making decisions in the absence of information. Not making a decision is not possible as a founder. You're just going to, procrastination is death. Yes. So, when you see anything change in the world, there's a war here, or there's COVID, or there's some tariff change, if you're thinking, oh my God, this is bad, what do I do? Versus, hey, there's some change happening. How can we embrace this? If tariffs are going up, then this is going to happen and people are going to need more of that. And so maybe I can make something for that. If you're thinking that nothing's a problem and everything's an opportunity, you're a good fit for a founder. On the flip side, if you're worried AI is going to change, dude, you may not be the founder mentality. So work out whether founder life is something you're going to love, because you're going to have to make those decisions. You can't, I don't have kids, which I guess when you're a parent, you can't go, kid's 2 years old, I'm getting bored, can I give it back please? It's not an option. And so you can't get people to join your startup and then 2 years in you go, I'm bored, can I leave? You have to, you're really committed to making it a success. Yes. So you have to be prepared for that. But the second part is, now you've done that, the second part is, too often as a founder, you think the problem to solve is building something. And it's only a year or two later when you've built it, you've taken money from investors, you've got team to leave their jobs, their day jobs, and follow you. And then you wake up in a cold sweat knowing that nobody wants what you've built. And if only you'd figured that out before you built it. And everyone does this, even if you know about it. And it's one of the lessons I've learned in previous startups. So how do you validate that people really want it before you build it? So many people know about the mom test. If you don't, go get it on Amazon, so I don't know, $15 or something like that. And the problem is people, of course, they know they have to validate. So they ask people, I'm working on this amazing new something, it's going to solve something, it's going to be awesome, what do you think? And the person they ask goes, no idea what you're talking about, but such a nice guy, don't want to offend him or her. Of course it's a good idea. So you ask the wrong questions to the wrong people who are not really users of your product, and you get the wrong answer, and then you go build it. And instead, you need to find real users of the product and ask them, have you looked for one of these before? How much would you pay for it? What's your experiences with others? And who's a competitor? And if they've never looked for something, it's possible you've got a revolutionary new thing, but more likely you haven't. It's a vanity idea. And if it is a revolutionary new thing, you've got another problem, because the most viral, fastest growing startups are when people have this pain point and problem and you're solving it. If you have to persuade them they've got a problem first and only then that you'll solve it, you've got far more work to like, hey, when you're wandering around in a virtual space you can trip, so we've got this new thing. Like, no, I'm not wandering around in a virtual space yet. I have no current problem to solve. So, but if you tell me you're paying too much for insurance this month and I can save you 50% next month, okay, now you've got my interest. So. Yes.
It pays to have conversations. 100 conversations with potential customers, or when you have an idea, will pay dividends in the future. It really will.
Exactly.
I met with, I did a camp 15 years ago with the founder of Airbnb, Joe Gebbia. And, a couple of years into it, he came back to New York and he went to all the Airbnbs, and he would come there with a photographer, take pictures and so forth. He learned a lot about what customers wanted, just simply from going to these locations, having conversations, seeing their setup and so forth. And he was able to optimize something from actually having those conversations. And people forget that. And as you mentioned, people a lot of founders are introverts, and being able to embrace or approach the customer, potential customer, can be a little challenging. But doing the research will pay dividends, and there are ways of doing that. I've been approached by organizations to be on calls, have conversations with founders about products that they're exploring, and there are ways, mechanics to be able to do that. And it's not that difficult, it really isn't.
And there are people who specialize in those kind of outreaches, but those are mostly for later stage companies. But, New York in particular has got such an amazing events and community scene. Certainly, if you're a founder, you can go to Founder Events NYC or other places, and you'll see there are at least 4 in-person events per day that you can do in New York.
Yes.
So getting out and talking to other founders is really important, because part of a founder is learning the art and craft of being a founder, because investors talk to lots of founders and they know which attributes stick out, what personality things stick out, how much you can hype it up. If you just say, well, I'm working on this, like, dude, you're not going to make it. If you dial it up too far, you go into the unbelievable zone. So, getting out, and also find your community. If you into green tea, find all the green tea events and go there, and you would be very surprised with the things that you learn, because you have all these assumptions about how a market operates, and when you go and talk to real people, you discover all these little things you would never have otherwise known, which might give you that perfect into the market for an unexpected opportunity you would not have done discovered by using an AI analysis or anything like that.
So, second final question. Where is your favorite place for green tea in New York?
I have found New York to be spectacularly disappointing for tea. In London, there are endless number of places. My favorite is a place in Borough Market in London. Borough Market was created in the year 1362 or something, and has been in business for like 700 years. And this little green tea guy who sells, he's not a small person, he's a regular person who sells in a small shop, and he sold to Prince Andrew and more. He's got photos. He goes to India and he comes back with green. Anyway, for about the same price as drugs, you can buy really great green tea. So that's my favorite. But also, Mariage Frères, the French company, ships. So I've ordered a whole selection of green teas shipped to New York. So now I've got my green tea stash, and I'm happy.
Amazing. I love green tea. I love jazz and green tea. There's a place in Chinatown, I think, the next street, Grand Street, where you can actually buy the ingredients they actually have in bulk. You can buy it, and you can get little bags of it. It's fantastic.
And there's a place in Tribeca, by the way, that does green tea, but it's like a museum. And the pricing is astronomical. They come by with little white gloves and show you the thing, and you can buy various Japanese things for making it. It's really awesome, but you might look at it as going to a museum rather than, I'm going to buy a whole lot of stuff I'm going to drink every day. But
Incredible. How do people find out more about you? Of course, there's SeedLegals, the website. How do people contact you if they want to invest or get involved with legal support with the services you have?
Yeah, so Anthony Rose on LinkedIn, anthony@seedlegals.com, or just head over to the SeedLegals website. If you're an early stage founder and you're thinking about fundraising, our platform will help with all the legal documents, contracts, investments, safes, cap table. But my team, much more importantly than that, also, and you can reach out to me directly. It's not scalable, but love to see, can I help on thoughts and feedback on pitch deck and so on, because that's the real problem to solve. The legal stuff is easy. There's a platform for that. The difficult stuff is getting investable and validating it, and anything we can do to help on that, delighted to as well.
Incredible. Well, this has been a pleasure. Anthony Rose, SeedLegals. Tap into the replay, the summary, the mind map, all the pieces of this at rulesforsuccess.com. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you so much, Joseph.
That's it for today's episode of rulesforsuccess.com podcast. Join us next week for another inspiring conversation with a successful entrepreneur. Until then, remember to be bold, be courageous, and go after your dreams.